My name is Brencis, and today I'm going to teach you the basics of how to knit. A little about me: I've been knitting for around 16 years, and most of what I've learned has been self-taught or through videos such as this one, and sometimes pamphlets and books. Today what I'm going to teach you is a basic cast on, the knit stitch, the purl stitch, some increases and decreases, and a yarn over, and how to bind off your project. All right, let's get started.
All right, so first I'm going to teach you how to cast on. So I've got my end of my yarn and I've got my knitting needle. The first thing you want to do is create a slip knot. Now to create a slip knot, you make a loop and you pull another loop through it, and then you pull it tight and you've got a slip knot. Now you slip that onto the needle and you pull it tight. Now, to create more stitches, it's really simple. You take your yarn, you twist it around your thumb, you put the needle up under the yarn like so, and pull tight. Now, there's 2 stitches. I'll show you again. Wrap around the thumb, put the needle through, pull tight. Alright, now I'm going to cast on some stitches to show you the next thing. Alright, now we have 15 stitches. So, once you've cast on your stitches, you want to do the knit stitch. So, to do the knit stitch, you need to go through the front of the stitch, take your yarn, wrap it around the needle that you just passed through, pull it to the front, and push it off. I'll show you again. Through the front loop, around the needle, back to the front, and pull it off. It's that easy. And this is what it'll look like when you finish knitting the row. Now, I'm going to knit a few more rows so you can see better when I show you how to do a purl stitch. Okay, now I have some fabric. You see this fabric? This is probably what you're used to seeing when you see knitwear. It has these little V's. Well, the way to get this is by doing a row of knits, then a row of purl stitches. Because the back looks like this. And this is what a purl stitch looks like. It looks like a little bump. So, for the next row, I need to knit purl stitches if I want to keep making this fabric that's called stockinette. So, to purl stitch, you're basically doing a backwards knit stitch. That's essentially what you're doing. So, you go up through the very front of the front loop, you take your yarn, you wrap it around, you push to the back, and then you pull off. See how that's basically the opposite of what we did for the knit stitch? I'll show you again. Through the front loop, around it to the back and pull off. And now you have another row of stockinette. Now, this is pretty much all you need to know how to do your most basic of knitting patterns. But if you want to create something with a little shape, like maybe a hat or some gloves, here's how you make increases and decreases that you'll need to know. All right, I'm going to knit 2 stitches in. To give us a little bit of a buffer for our increase. So the first increase I'm going to show you is knit front and back. It's essentially exactly what it sounds like. You knit into the front loop like normal, but you don't pull it off. You have it like this, and you move and you push through the back loop of that stitch, and you knit it like normal. Now you have 2 stitches where you had 1 stitch before. All right, I'm going to show you the next way. So another type of increase you can do, after I give myself 2 buffer stitches, is called a yarn over. Now this one creates big old holes, so it's mostly used when you're making lace. So what you do is you put the yarn over, which is why it's called that, and then you knit the next stitch like normal, and it gives you this little extra guy right there, and then when you knit it, it's going to give you a big hole. Now as you can see, we've got a big hole here, and that's from our yarn over. And usually when you're doing yarn over, that's what you want, so that's good. So the other thing you'll need to know how to do is to decrease stitches, usually for something like the top of a hat. So decreases, some go in this direction, and some go in this direction. And I'm going to show you how to do each. So, I'm going to knit those same 2 buffer stitches. And now I'm going to show you how to do a slip, slip, knit. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You slip 1 stitch, you slip the next stitch, and then you put this needle and then set it up like it's knitting and knit the stitch like normal. And there you've knit 2 stitches together. The other way to knit 2 stitches together is called knit 2 together. So, to do a knit 2 together, you pass through 2 stitches as if you're going to knit them, wrap it around, and knit them. It's that simple. Really, really easy. Now, lastly, I'm going to teach you how to bind off, which is to take your project off of the needles when you're finished. So there are a bunch of different bind offs, there are a bunch of different cast-ons too, but I'm going to show you the most easy bind off just like I showed you the easiest cast on. So you start out like normal, you knit 1 stitch, and you knit a 2nd stitch. And then you take the first stitch that you knit, you take it, some people do this with their needle, but I find it easier to do with my fingers. You pull it over the 2nd stitch, and you're done. And you do that with the next one too. And then you just keep going until you've done it to all of the stitches. Now once you get to the very end, you bind off. That's how you do it with the needle. And now you have your final stitch on the needle. So, since you're done now, you can cut your yarn and then pull the needle out of the last stitch. Take this tail end, put it through the last loop. This yarn's a little picky, so it's a little hard. There we go. And pull it tight. And there you have it. You've got a little knit rectangle. And I've taught you how to increase and decrease. And now you can do the most basic of knitting.
All right, now you've learned how to do a knit stitch, a purl stitch, how to cast on, how to bind off, and some basic increases and decreases. So now you can go out and find a beginning knitting pattern, and you could probably make it. Also, you can make something like this, just a little sampler. And it's pretty easy, isn't it? Happy knitting!